Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu assures Nigerian workers of his administration's commitment to improving their welfare as they celebrate the 2024 Workers' Day. The federal government says implementation of the new national minimum wage takes effect from May the 1st, 2024, notwithstanding when the Tripartite Committee submits its recommendations. And Covenant Nation holds 35th edition of the platform with emphasis on promoting economic development across all spheres of the nation.
On Business News tonight, economic think tank Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise calls for the adoption of a 1,000 naira per dollar exchange rate to curb volatility in customs cargo clearance.
On sports news tonight, Carlos Alcaraz's quest for a third successive Madrid Open trophy ends with a shock quarter-final defeat at the hands of Russia's Andrei Rublev.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, members of the organized labor across northern states of Nigeria gather at different centers to celebrate the 2024 May Day, as state governments reel out promises to improve workers' welfare.
And in international news from London, rival protesters have clashed at pro-Palestinian encampments in Los Angeles hours after police cleared a similar protest in New York.
Today is May Day, otherwise known as Workers' Day. And while Nigerian workers await the recommendation of the Tripartite Committee on the new minimum wage, President Bola Tinubu is assuring Nigerians that his administration remains committed to improving the welfare of all workers, noting the various relief programs, including the wage award and the imminent minimum wage review. The president's message, meant to celebrate Nigerian workers, which was posted on his X handle, saluted the workers for their fidelity to the peace, progress and development of the nation, which he says is evident in their tireless efforts and patriotic zeal to keep the national engine running. The president used the occasion to celebrate workers across all spheres, from the clerical officer to the security officer, the teacher, the doctor, and indeed all Nigerian workers who keep the candle aflame. Now, the president's message reads in part, quote, "I strongly believe that the custodians of the nation's machinery deserve a fair wage and enhanced welfare, and that the laborer is deserving of not just any reward, but fair and commensurate wages. I assure Nigerian workers of my dedication to not only improving their welfare, but also enhancing their working conditions and providing the necessary tools for them to succeed." Meanwhile, the federal government says implementation of the new national minimum wage, when concluded, will begin from today, May the 1st this year. Our Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented President Bola Tinubu at the May Day celebration held at the Eagle Square, Abuja, says the federal government is open and willing to implement the recommendations of the Tripartite Committee working on the minimum wage. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Dressed in colorful attires, workers in Abuja converge on the Eagle Square to celebrate the 2024 Workers' Day. It's the first Workers' Day celebration under President Bola Tinubu's government, and the Vice President is here leading other government officials in solidarity with the workers. The organized labor in Nigeria has been agitating for better welfare, amongst other needs, in the face of daunting economic challenges. And this occasion provides an opportunity for the leaders to reiterate their demands.
The Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC have made it clearly and emphatically that should the minimum wage negotiation continue and linger till the end of May, we can no longer guarantee industrial harmony in this country.
The NLC and TUC hereby advise NEC and power sector operators to revise the last increase in electricity tariff within the next 1 week.
However, they are assured of government support.
Despite the short delay, the minimum wage will take effect on from 1st May 2024. We are not going to lose any time.
Vice President Kashim Shettima presents President Bola Tinubu's address to the workers, commending the role of the organized labor in the growth of the country.
I do not take for granted the understanding, patience, commitment, and support you have shown throughout the implementation of this government's policies and programs. The success of our government's policies and programs hinges on the willingness of workers at the backbone of our workforce to embrace them wholeheartedly. I appeal to you to continue using the power of the labor movement for the greater good of our nation.
Done with speeches, the workers marched past, saluting the number 2 worker in the country. The Vice President observed the colorful display. This year's Workers' Day, themed People First, aims to promote awareness about the importance of implementing people-centered policies and government programs. In spite of the current economic situation in the country, Nigerian workers have remained undaunted. The colorful display here today has shown how resilient they are in the face of the myriad of challenges in the country. However, beyond being self-motivated, they want the government, the federal, state, and local governments to ensure that better welfare and condition of service are put in place. From the Eagle Square in Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Lagos-based church The Covenant Nation has held the 35th edition of its non-profit initiative, The Platform Nigeria. The annual gathering, which holds twice in a year, is designed to drive growth in the areas of personal capacity, productivity, and national development. With speakers drawn from diverse fields from around the world, this edition, which held in 3 different locations in Lagos, is aimed at shaping the minds of people and promoting local talents while pushing for the growth of Nigerian entrepreneurs.
Now in its 17th year, the 35th edition of The Platform, a non-profit initiative of the Covenant Christian Center, takes place on Workers' Day, and for the first time holds simultaneously in 3 different venues in Lagos.
Today, in 3 sessions, 1 platform, 3 different themes.
With the theme Democracy and the Free Market, this edition, which is also streamed live online, sets out to create the much-needed citizen participation in fashioning out the best approach Nigeria needs in order to be counted as an emerging nation on the global stage. The convener of the program, Pastor Kpoju Uyemade, in his opening remark, sets the tone for discussions, which primarily focuses on entrepreneurship.
First things that entrepreneurs do, and this is why we should really honor them, is that they are the ones who create jobs. Through innovation and recognition of opportunity, they create jobs. The second thing that they do is that they are the ones who stimulate economic activity within a place that brings about development. The third thing that entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs do is that they increase efficiency through innovation, bringing in new products and services to the marketplace. That's why I also mentioned you can have entrepreneurs in government, that is, people in government that increase the efficiency of how a government functions through products and services, and also they improve the standard of living.
Other keynote speakers delivered thought-provoking ideas to inspire young entrepreneurs and participants to take action in their business.
If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you must learn to follow through. keep your eye on the ball. Don't make assumptions. You make assumptions and you leave, you come back the next day, you hear story.
Why do you want to start a business? Why? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Are you starting a business because you want to make money? It's not a bad thing at all. If you want to just make money, it's great because you're keeping your eyes on the number. You want to start a business because you are passionate about that particular thing, right? It's good to be out of your passion. The only thing that you'll be blessed with is poverty. And we don't want that for anyone. Okay? So money is important. But you have to think of why you want to be an entrepreneur. It's very important.
If you're going to start anything, these 4 things are crucial. It doesn't matter if you're in tech, fashion, hospitality, events, manufacturing. There are 4 solutions to wicked problems. Then those solutions to wicked problems are born by passion. Passion takes 4 things on the designer. It takes empathy, intuition, it takes imagination, and it takes idealism. These are actually things that are in God's design on anything he does. These 4 things are key.
By harnessing the collective wisdom, creativity, and energy of participants, the platform has emerged as a beacon of hope and inspiration, fostering dialogue, collaboration, and action towards a brighter future for Nigeria. And still from the platform, building wealth in the ever-changing world driven by technology is the focus of the platform 35.2, which held in Lekki, with the theme Women in Business and Women in Tech. Our next report takes a look at how the next generation can benefit from the resources available to make a difference and make an impact.
It's an ever-expanding world in technology and business, as more women are breaking the barriers in building successful businesses and excelling in tech. These leading women are at the platform to share their experience and teach the younger generation how to be the change agent by making use of different opportunities and funds available to women.
In your career, in your journey, you must accept that there will always be need for change. So why should you have a mentality that gets stuck? You need to unbundle your mind and unwind it and open up for the fact that sometimes the change that happens around you is not against you, it's for you. However, every change can be against you if you do not have the right mindset.
Building a business is knowing why you are building and what the future holds. The key to achieving this, according to these experts, is creating a value system that defines who you are.
I grew up in an environment where we made things, and I loved to produce things. So I wanted to retail the children's clothing. What happened? Nobody was ready to buy things that were made in Nigeria. People were telling me that because it's made in Nigeria, it will not be of good quality. Hello? Are you not made in Nigeria? I mean, come on. Yes. So by default, what you are actually saying is that you are not good yourself. So when are we going to learn to trust who we truly are?
If I am someone who loves cars and it is my birthday, can you not make the outside a cake and put an engine, and when the cake is coming in, it is rolling? You are an engineer and you are a baker. Abi? Your God is a creator. He's your father. Why are you not creating? When did you suddenly decide to step out of the family name and stop creating?
Tech has been described as the new oil, with endless possibilities and opportunities. And some of the ways women can build wealth is by identifying a problem and creating the solution through technology.
So who is an operator? An operator is a builder, an implementer, an executor, somebody that is always delivering on the company goals. That makes you a wealth builder. You know, whenever I think about my journey and just entrepreneurship, right, I always think that an entrepreneur is really a problem solver. Whether you have a company or not, wherever you are an entrepreneur as long as you are solving problems.
In Africa and in Nigeria, the trend holds the same. Majority of our businesses are SMEs, right? About 83% or so of the economy are made up of SMEs. And a significant portion of those SMEs are informal. Now, when you look at women in business, if we're talking about wealth building, it's not just about having women in business, but it's about having women in businesses that are driving innovation.
With 83% of women-owned businesses reportedly set up to meet needs that do not create the culture of innovation, organizers at the platform will hope that the experience of various speakers will change the mindset of entrepreneurs to use resources like artificial intelligence to build wealth and leave a legacy that will outlive them.
The example I was giving about this baby making.
In part 2, after the break, we'll have more on the platform from the Covenant Nation. Plus, we'll bring you more on Workers' Day celebration across southern states of Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu assures Nigerian workers of his administration's commitment to improving their welfare as they celebrate the 2024 Workers' Day. Federal government says implementation of the new national minimum wage takes effect from May the 1st, 2024, notwithstanding when the tripartite committee submits its recommendations. And Covenant Nation holds 35th edition of the platform with emphasis on promoting economic development across all spheres of the nation. And British police names 14-year-old Daniel Anjorin as the victim of the sword attack in northeast London on Tuesday. More from the platform, this time from Ikeja, where conversations around nation building continued, focusing on the labor sector. Some of the speakers at the conversation say there should be a shift in corporate space of the nation, with a resounding call for entrepreneurship.
Cracking the glass box means navigating the world of corporate policy, the laid down rules, in such a way that you're able to shape culture, which becomes accepted practice, and then which may or may not ultimately lead to a change in policy. So, what glass boxes are we cracking? Cracking the glass box also means being entrepreneurial. Think of the image of the glass box that's cracked. In fact, if you think about it, entrepreneurship can be so potent that it starts to shape and define culture. So much so that policy almost becomes secondary.
I want to say that everybody will not be an entrepreneur. You need to understand this. Now, I know that you may have listened to some motivational speakers who may have suggested that you can't achieve your potential in life unless you start a business. You cannot change the world. The only way to change the world is to build a business. I want to tell you that they were wrong. That is not true. That is so not true. You can change the world from where you are. You can make an impact in this world from where you are. You don't have to resign your job to go start up your company before you can change the world. Everybody will not be an entrepreneur, but everybody and anybody can be an intrapreneur.
COVID transformed our lives and said, yes, we can work from home, flexi work and all of that. But I can tell you that there are times that the work will place a demand for you. And as an exception, without people telling you, you need to take the step and say, okay, I need to do this differently for this time, and then go back into your work balance and do what you need to do. No, you shouldn't be the one telling people that, oh, it's work-life balance, I can't take more challenge. I can tell you genuinely, the organization will find the people that can take more, give them the responsibility, give them the opportunity, and they will take it. Again, on behalf of the organization, I do believe that organizations need to take work-life balance seriously and respect people's personal time. But I'm also saying as entrepreneurs, we need to be reflective and take on responsibilities, making sure that we explain and clarify them very clearly.
who says it's time.
Ben shared personal perspectives of organizational growth to challenge the younger generation to weigh their options before joining the bandwagon of those seeking greener pastures abroad.
Have a mind to collaborate, not compete. See, competition is not for well-built. See, a well-builder is somebody who is looking for other people like him who are going in the same direction, to the same destination, thinking about how they help each other accelerate. So to build wealth for society, organization, and self, have a mindset that is geared towards working with others towards a shared goal.
So, what do I say to the people who fall in this bracket, who have been saying to themselves, what have I done with my life? I'm about to exit the scene. I say, no, your nation still needs you, especially now that JAPA is almost breaking the middle. Transcend and reinvent. That is how you stay relevant. Data still supports my point. And I hear these days that 30-year-olds, 30-plus-year-olds are crying that they've not achieved anything in their life. I don't understand you people. At 30, you probably have 40 more years. Okay, I agree, right now you have not achieved. But I'm saying to you, there is still more to do. Nigeria's KFC still needs to come out.
It is important that we think beyond our industry norms. Innovation often lies in intersections of these cross-disciplines. It is key to believe and be resilient at the rate of conviction, because sometimes that persistence and conviction usually turns skeptics into believers, which we saw in this particular case. It's also important to promote interdisciplinary collaboration among our team members, because you never know what we see and what I have seen in my own experiences. Great ideas usually come from diverse minds. So it is important as middle managers, as leaders, as senior managers to create an environment that encourages that. And lastly for me, is to also see the importance of calculated risk with regards to being able to drive innovation. It's very key. We should not be afraid of disruption. In fact, we must embrace it.
The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is assuring workers in the state that a suitable minimum wage will be announced soon. Governor Sanwo-Olu made this comment at the 2024 May Day celebration held at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Onikan in Lagos. He also appealed to residents not to engage in panic buying and storage of fuel to prevent fire disaster.
This year's Workers' Day celebration comes with a different feeling for workers in Lagos, owing to the current economic hardship in the country. Despite that, workers across all sectors in the state converge on Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Onikan, for the 2024 May Day event to voice out their concern, especially on the issue of high cost of living.
The situation in the country now is parlous. Workers are the hardest hit by the economic challenges. The cost of living is very high. The current minimum wage is of no value anymore. The palliative measure has not solved the equation.
The recent hike in electricity tariff has further compounded the challenges faced by Lagosians. Despite enduring erratic power supply for years, the sudden increase in electricity prices feels like a deliberate attempt to burden the working class and ordinary citizens.
For the Lagos State government, the workers' concerns are quite valid, given the situation of things, but has also initiated intervention programs to support the people.
We are not oblivious of the fact that there are still pending issues to be resolved with the labor issues regarding the improving of welfare and well-being of staff in some agencies.
Nonetheless, let me seize this medium to ensure the labor centers of our continued commitment to chart a way forward in addressing these issues in the best interest of the state government and the affected staff.
Your faithful partnership and support for the program and policies of government for the good of the people is highly acknowledged.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, who's also in attendance, speaks on the economic challenges facing the country, the fuel queues across the state, and gives assurance of a sustainable minimum wage.
There is no gainsaying that this year's Workers' Day is being celebrated among very difficult economic challenges. I want to assure you that your welfare is paramount to us. Lagos, you can rest assured, will give a wage award, will give a minimum wage that indeed will take you home. Please don't do panic buying. Don't go and buy fuel that you don't require right now. Let us just wait, and for the next couple of days, it will clear out.
The event was rounded off with a march past by different groups.
Still ahead on the news at 10, we have more on the 2024 Workers' Day across the country, plus Economic Think Tank Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise calls for the adoption of a 1,000 Naira per dollar exchange rate to curb volatility in customs cargo clearance. That will be on Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Now, workers in other southern states of Nigeria gathered at different centers for the 2024 May Day celebration. From Ogun to Delta, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Rivers, and Delta states, workers came out in their numbers to celebrate the day as their state governments promised to prioritize their welfare.
It is the 2024 May Day celebration in the southern parts of Nigeria, and members of the organized labor gather on different locations to celebrate the day. In Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, Governor Dapo Abiodun joins workers at the Moshood Abiola Stadium for the celebration. While appreciating the state workforce, Governor Abiodun promises more welfare packages as he's honored with Workers' Friendly Award.
Every Ogun Teach intern that served a minimum of 2 years of military service and has passed the required evaluation should be migrated into mainstream civil service.
In Asaba, the Delta State capital, workers converge on the cenotaph for the May Day celebration. The state governor, Sheriff Oborewuri, informs the workers that his administration will set up a committee to look into their demands for salary increase.
I have listened attentively to your requests and have taken copious note of saying there are no doubt legitimate demands, and as a responsible government, I will deliberate with my team on how best to address them with the limits of resources available to us.
The arrival of His Excellency, Senator Prince.
In neighboring Cross River State, the UJ Esuene Stadium is the venue for this year's Workers' Day celebration. In his message to the workers, Governor Basiutu announces a new minimum wage for state civil servants.
The new wage implementation shall be in line with the realities of the time rather than sentiments. On this note, I wish to announce that the least paid worker in the Cross River State Civil Service would henceforth earn the sum of 40,000 naira only as a living wage.
Thank you, permanently workers. Thank you.
Staying in the South-South region, workers in River State also gather at the Yakubu Gowon Stadium in Port Harcourt.
Coming for May Day 2024. Yes, these are permanently workers.
The Stadium resonates with chants of solidarity songs as workers from the various sectors take part in the ceremonial march past. After the march past, Governor Fubara addresses the workers with a promise to prioritize their welfare.
Let me assure you that we are going to work with the federal government to implement necessary measures, including the continuation of the free bus services and the provision of necessary palliative to ameliorate the current hardship faced by ordinary citizens. We are also committed to implementing the increase in the workers' salary recently approved by the federal government as soon as possible.
As workers leave the various centers, their hope is that all the promises made during this year's May Day celebrations are not just mere talks, but something that will materialize in the coming days.
So let's head to the nation's capital now, where Gloria Omezioke is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Gloria. Great to see you. Happy May Day.
Same to you, indeed, Ayo. Many thanks. Here in Abuja, we have more on the celebration. Now, members of the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress in northern Nigeria have joined their counterparts across the country to mark the 2024 Workers' Day. It was also an occasion for members of the organised labour to re-echo the call for better welfare for workers.
It's the 2024 May Day celebration, and members of the organised labour converge in different centres across northern Nigeria to celebrate the day. For the first time in about 10 years, the governor of Kaduna State and his deputy are among the dignitaries present at the Workers' Day celebration in Kaduna State. Governor Obasani tells workers he's prioritizing their welfare. This assurance is also echoed by his counterparts in Katsina and Zamfara states.
We have forged a strategic partnership with the labor unions to advance the interests of workers and improve the living condition of the poor, vulnerable, and underserved in Kaduna State.
At this juncture, I wish to assure workers in the state that the present administration will continue to do more for the development of the service in the general and the welfare of the workers in particular.
I feel pain when I see the amount of salaries being paid to workers. It's not realistic in any society.
The messages of hope from the state governments resound in Sokoto, Taraba.
Training and retraining of our civil servants will be vigorously pursued to ensure that our workforce is kept abreast not only on the civil service rules and regulation, but also on the dynamic trend of global business and governance for optimal performance.
It is our responsibility to create an enabling environment that promotes job satisfactions, fair compensation, and opportunities for career advancement.
We will continue to receive our resources within current realities, including implementations of another minimum wage as soon as all processes have been completed.
We are committed to implementing policies that promote the rights of workers and ensure dignity in the workplace.
The Kaduna State Chairman of the Trade Union Congress appeals for extension of retirement age for all categories of workers. Meanwhile, members of the organized labor in Plateau rejected the new salary increase announced by the federal government.
We want you to be able to extend workers' years of service by another 5 years.
And totally rejected the offer being given to all the
Labour leaders in Niger State are concerned about the security situation in the state.
Sustainable policy or sustainable platform of gratuities, development of family salary areas, allowing for consistent payments by the government, development of the balance of performance of family salary areas all staff across the government, that's 50%.
Although the federal government may have announced a 35% increase in salary of workers, the expectation of the workers appear not to have been met by the government.
The federal government has commenced the payment of compensation to property owners affected by the ongoing demolition of facilities on the right-of-way of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project from kilometer 0 to 3. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, who announced this at a stakeholders meeting, says about 2.75 billion naira has been put aside to flag off the payment of compensation to some of those affected.
And I assure Nigerians that so far, if there will be any activity that is lost, they will have opportunities between kilometer 0 to kilometer 700. And so I bless Mr. President, I bless our country, and it's my pleasure to unveil the new design route to the glory of God. And I wish to flag off the compensation from Challenge 0 to Challenge 3 in a total sum of 2.75 billion. That is very, very ambitious. Very ambitious. And it's my pleasure to invite the director design and the controller to call the people and give them the symbolic amount agreed, and to assure that before 1 p.m. tomorrow, you will all get your alert as agreed.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's over now to Melinda in Lagos for business news.
Many thanks, Gloria. Welcome to Business News. The frequent changes in the custom duty exchange rate has become a huge burden on the business community, and that's according to the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE. In a statement, the CPPE stresses that the volatility is disrupting production processes and long-term planning efforts, which undermines the country's economic stability. The CPPE's point of view comes as the customs duty FX rate increased significantly today to 1,373 naira 65 kobo to a dollar. In the first quarter of this year, the customs duty exchange rate changed 28 times, creating uncertainty for investors and complicating international trade dynamics. To address this issue, the enterprise is calling on the Central Bank of Nigeria to adopt a framework aimed at minimizing customs duty exchange rate volatility by implementing a quarterly rate starting at 1,000 naira to a dollar in collaboration with fiscal authorities. African Airlines experienced a robust 14.2% year-on-year growth in air cargo demand in March, according to the latest report from the International Air Transport Association, IATA. IATA report attributes this sustained growth in air cargo demand to the ongoing expansion of global cross-border trade and industrial production. The report notes that demand on the Africa-Asia market surged to 22.9% in March, although it's 19.8% decrease compared to February. Despite this contraction, March still saw a significant capacity increase of 17.3% year-on-year. IATA attributes the sustained growth in the air cargo demand to continuous expansion of global cross-border trade and industrial production. The U.S. Federal Reserve has decided to keep interest rates unchanged, signaling potential future rate cuts amid concerns over disappointing inflation numbers. The decision to maintain rates steady was influenced by the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, which rose 2.7% in March year-on-year, and the postponement of rate cuts is due to stagnant progress towards the 2% inflation target. In addition, the central bank announced plans to reduce the pace of shrinking its balance sheet starting from June the 1st. Now, this adjustment is aimed at avoiding reserve shortages, which were last seen in 2019. Google says it's laying off about 200 employees as it undergoes a restructuring within its core group. This decision comes shortly after Google's first quarter earnings report last week. The core unit at Google is responsible for developing the technical backbone of the company's flagship products and ensuring user safety online. As part of this move, some roles will be shifted to India and Mexico. This restructuring reflects Google's ongoing efforts to optimize operations and resources while staying focused on innovation and growth. E-commerce giant Amazon's earnings surged in the first quarter of this year, boosted by robust profits attributed to artificial intelligence and advertising sales. With a reported revenue of $143.3 billion, up 13% from the previous year, Amazon exceeded Wall Street's expectations. Notably, its e-commerce revenue soared over 200% to $15 billion, while net income tripled to $10.4 billion. The company emphasized the pivotal role of AI in driving growth, especially in Amazon's web services, which saw a 17% revenue increase to $25 billion, with AWS contributing 62% of the total operating profit. Now let's check in on the markets now, where most major equities, including Nigeria's NGX, are closed for the Workers' Day holiday. Meanwhile, the U.S. markets are bullish. Let's take a look at the highlights.
Many thanks, Melinda. The British police has named 14-year-old Daniel Anjorin as the victim of the sword attack in northeast London on Tuesday. The police said Anjorin died from stab wounds shortly after being taken to hospital on that same Tuesday. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Rival protesters have clashed at pro-Palestinian encampments in Los Angeles, hours after police cleared a similar protest in New York. At the University of California, Los Angeles, the Vice-Chancellor said horrific acts of violence occurred at the encampment tonight. She says the university immediately called for law enforcement for mutual aid support. Footage online appears to show masked counter-demonstrators supporting Israel attacking their rivals with sticks and attempting to dismantle barricades. At Columbia University in New York, police arrested protesters nearly 24 hours after they took over an academic building. Riot police in Georgia have fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse crowds protesting against a bill seen by the opposition as targeting media freedoms. Pro-EU protesters clashed with police outside Parliament, denouncing what they see as a Russian-inspired law. Dozens of people were arrested and an opposition party leader was hurt. Georgian MPs have given their initial backing to the Foreign Agents Bill, despite the EU warning that it could harm Tbilisi's bid to join the bloc. Parliament is expected to hold a second vote on the bill. 24 people have died after a section of a mountainside highway collapsed in China's Guangdong province following days of heavy rain. 30 others were taken to hospital after a 58-feet stretch of the Mailong Expressway crumbled early in the morning on Wednesday. Authorities have yet to state the cause of the incident. Images on state media showed a massive gash in the forested mountainside below the highway. State media initially reported that 19 people had died, but local authorities later said 24 people had been killed, with the number of injured persons still at 30. New footage has emerged of the attacker who killed a 14-year-old boy and injured several others in a sword attack in northeast London. 2 police officers are thought to have life-changing injuries, with a 36-year-old man being arrested on suspicion of murder. Here he is seen driving a van into a passerby. He is later seen being tasered by police. Police say they do not believe the incident was terror-related or targeted. A new report says hunger and starvation are spreading across Sudan as the war that erupted in April last year between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces shows no sign of abating. According to interviews with over 160 civilians caught in the fighting and more than 60 aid workers and food security experts, parts of Sudan are on the brink of famine. Agriculture has been ravaged as farmers have had their harvested crops stolen. Malaria and other diseases are spreading among the displaced. Meanwhile, international aid arriving in Sudan is being blocked by the military from reaching people in areas where starvation has set in. Since renewed fighting broke out between the Sudanese armed forces and the rebel paramilitary Rapid Support Forces on April the 15th last year, more than 8 million people have fled their homes and more than 14,000 people have been killed. The former chief executive of Binance has been sentenced to 4 months in prison after pleading guilty to violating US laws against money laundering at the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Once considered the most powerful crypto industry figure, Changpeng Zhao, known as CZ, is the second major crypto boss to be sentenced to prison. The sentence was significantly shorter than the 3 years sought by prosecutors and below the maximum 1.5 years recommended under federal guidelines. And a beekeeper in the United States has been given a standing ovation after he cleared a huge swarm of bees that delayed the start of a Major League Baseball match.
Quite a scene here at Chase Field. You're looking live at a bee colony that has established a foothold.
The Arizona Diamondbacks and the Los Angeles Dodgers were due to face off, but the start of the game was delayed for more than 2 hours after a swarm of bees descended on the top of the protective netting behind the home plate. Beekeeper Matt Hilton was called in and was lifted 30 feet into the air to the post where the bees had swarmed at Chase Field in Phoenix.
This is one small step for man.
The crowd cheered Hilton as he cleared the bees, and he was even given the honor of throwing the first pitch. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, we begin with the Champions League. German forward Niklas Füllkrug scored a brilliant first-half winner as Borussia Dortmund beats Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final. The 31-year-old used his right foot to expertly bring down a long ball before hammering home with his left foot to give Dortmund a 36-minute lead. After a poor start to the half, PSG missed several chances to equalize in the second half, with Kylian Mbappe curling an effort off the inside of the post before Achraf Hakimi struck the woodwork moments later. Away from the Champions League, Spanish tennis sensation Carlos Alcaraz's dream for a third straight trophy at the Madrid Open has ended by Andre Rublev. The 20-year-old second seed was aiming to become the first player to win 3 consecutive Madrid Open singles titles. Rublev rallied from a set down in the quarterfinals to win 4-6, 6-3, 6-2 and break Alcaraz's 14-match winning streak in the Spanish capital. And staying in Madrid, Rafael Nadal has said farewell to fans at the Madrid Open, the ATP Masters 1000 that he won 5 times during his illustrious career. And after losing his 4th-round match to Jerry Lecaca, the Spanish legendary tennis player was honored with 5 banners marking the titles he won during a 10-year span between 2008 and 2017. And a special trophy from the tournament's director, Feliciano Lopez. He now turns his attention and focus to next week's Masters 1000 in Rome, the French Open, the Paris Olympic Games, and Laver Cup. And he will be surely missed by many. Away from tennis now with 3 months to go before the opening of the Paris 2024 Games. The 3-masted Belém is sailing across the Mediterranean carrying the Olympic flame, which is expected to arrive in great fanfare in Marseille on May 8th. An estimated 150,000 spectators are expected to attend the ceremony at the Old Port of Marseille, which will host the Olympic sailing competitions and signal the start of a 68-day French touch relay across the country. The vessel carried the flame set sail for France on Saturday after a brief ceremony in Greece, which was preceded by an 11-day Greek relay leg. And that's sports tonight. I'm Kelly Egiga. It's back to you, Tunde.
Many thanks, Kelly. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today assured Nigerian workers of his administration's commitment to improving their welfare as they celebrate the 2024 Workers' Day. The federal government has said the implementation of the new national minimum wage will take effect from May the 1st, 2024, as Vice President Kashim Shettima assured Nigerians that government is open and willing to implement recommendations of the tripartite committee working on the minimum wage. And today, Covenant Nation held the 35th edition of the platform with emphasis on promoting economic development across all spheres of the nation. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night and please stay safe.